A Good Day to Die Hard. A Good Day to Die Hard stars Bruce Willis, Jai Courtney, Matt something, Sebastian Koch or something, and Mary Elizabeth Weinstein and more. Yeah, this movie's awful. I have nothing to say. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about this movie in the perspective of a Die Hard fan, because I love the first Die Hard film. I like the other two sequels. I haven't seen the fourth film yet. I've seen some of it. Meh. So yeah, this is gonna be spoiler filled, so short analysis or something, don't see this movie. Even if you think I'm funny or something, which I don't think I don't, but I'm gonna try anyway, and if it fails miserably. But don't see this. Even if I do act funny and you people are like, oh, I'm gonna see this movie, don't. Ever. For a Die Hard fan, for anyone, don't waste your money. And I might relate this to other random movies of you people are like, what's the point of bringing that random movie? Because I'm going to try and compare and contrast to show you what's exactly wrong with this movie in depth. So let's get started. A Good Day to Die Hard is the fifth film in the Die Hard series, and it has to do with John McClane, once again played by Bruce Willis, who is going to Moscow, Russia, to go to some court case that has to do with his son Jack, played by Jai Courtney, who's been doing trouble lately. And an old-fashioned Die Hard setup. There are terrorists there, they're doing bad stuff, and Bruce Willis runs into his son. You know, they need to team up together. They had a bad relationship, but they have to team up to stop the bad guys from getting this file and stuff, and who cares about the plot anyway? So yeah, this movie is awful. And seriously, it's awful. I don't even know where to begin. Where do I begin with? I can basically just start anything. Oh. I know where to start off. The writing. The writing in this movie is awful. I'm gonna blame everyone on this movie because the writing, the directing, the action, no one gave a crap but. And the writing is just no exception. This is just a cash grab sequel to a great franchise. And what better thing to start off with, like I said, the writing. The writing, awful. That's all I have to say. And, yeah, I was not really, I need to talk about something, before I talk about the writing, actually. I'm really starting to become off topic, but I just need to explain. When I heard the crew behind this movie, the script was going to be written by the guy who wrote Skip Woods' X-Men Origins Wolverine, the A-Team, and the guy who's directing it was John Moore, the guy who directed the O-Men remake and Max Payne, and they got awful reviews. I wasn't excited, but then the trailers came out, and they looked okay, but I was still skeptical, and yeah, what a bad result. But I can't really say also I was really too disappointed seeing that it's from, like I said, the guy who wrote X-Men Origins Wolverine and the guy who directed Max Payne. Yeah. So, finally, let's talk about the writing. The writing is, like I said briefly before, is awful. Seriously. The Skip Woods, on the internet, I randomly saw that there was an interview with him on other projects and Die Hard 5, and then I opened and he talked about, how he wrote sort of Die Hard 4 and how Bruce Willis gave him advice on the dialogue and stuff, and how he said that Die Hard was his favorite action film of all time. So I got a question for you, Mr. Woods. For anyone, if I made fun of you, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not. I mean, you seem like nice people. But this movie was just so bad to personal levels that it just broke my heart. I got stabbed in the chest and then it just ripped off and then stomped all over it. So, if I insulted you, I'm sorry. No offense, but this movie's just so awful. And Skip Woods, if you think that Die Hard is your favorite action movie of all time, then you should know what made the first Die Hard film work. You should know what made that work. The characters are all bad. You know? What happened to John McClane? John McClane. You know, he's like one of my favorite movie characters of all time. Bruce Willis played him perfectly. You know, it was not only because, you know, he's awesome, he kicks butt, he was funny as heck, but he was realistic. And it was like one of those characters who was like John Rambo. I haven't seen the movie, but from what I've seen, he's realistic. You know, he was just like John Rambo, in which people think, oh, he's just an over-the-top action hero. No, they were realistic. And that's what made, you know, with First Blood, I've heard some sequences, like, there's one I've heard where Rambo is, like, making a speech on how, you know, he wants to go home and stuff. And this is exactly John McClane. Exactly, almost, in a poorly way, talked about John Rambo. You know, he has personal problems. What happened to the time, you know, where in the first movie he was talking to a cop on a walkie-talkie. He can't see him and stuff. You know, what happened to the guy who said that if he didn't make it, he talked to the cop on how he should tell his wife if he did get out on how he screwed up and that he wanted to make his relationship work again. What happened to the guy who, when terrorists were shooting him in an action scene, when, you know, the terrorist shot glass and he wasn't wearing shoes and he was sockless, and no, I actually have no idea why he took off his shoes. But what happened to the guy who, like, had glass on his feet and then he had to, like, pick up glass out of his feet and it was bloody and then he started limping? What happened to that guy? What happened to that guy? What do we have now? Old superhero Willis. And you know what? Screw it. This is so much not like John McClane. So from now on, during this review, I'm gonna call him Bob. Cliche, but it works better. So yeah, the writing is awful, the characters are all awful, and the dialogue is bad, and the jokes are not funny, and there were some jokes that could've had potential to be funny. For example, it's during the climax, this is before the climax, they're in Chernobyl, Jack and Bob are loading up their guns, and then Bob picks up one of the guns and it turns out to be a pirate gun. And then Bob says, "You have a pirate gun?" And then Jack says, "Yeah, it's old time or something, just like you." That could have had potential. However, just like the rest of this movie, it doesn't work because the most of the jokes and stuff are delivered poorly because, like I said, no one gave a crap but. Yeah, the characters are awful. Which, now speaking of characters, let's talk about the acting. The acting. And I hate to say this. It pains me to say this. Bruce Willis is Doll in the movie. How? How can you make Bruce Willis Doll? Tell me. I mean, at least if you know the character, if I knew the character was not gonna be right, I at least expected him, Bruce Willis, to give a decent performance. And he's not. He just looks freaking bored out of his mind. Just like the rest of this movie, he doesn't give a crap. Oh my god. It just looks like most of the time, he just looks like he just got up out of bed and then, you know, he wasn't in the mood to get up and then his agent, like, offered a paycheck, you know, and then he got up, he was still bored, and then every time they had to spill water all over his face, and, you know, and this is what he always act like. What you do? What? I'm on vacation. You I understand what a word you're saying. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a badass. Yep, that's mostly what he is, and he doesn't give a crap. How can you do that, Bruce Willis? Just how? Jai Courtney. Remember a long time ago in like 2012 when I talked about the casting of Jack McClane and how I thought that at first he didn't look like a good in the role and that people are angry at me saying, Jai Courtney is a great actor from Vargas Blood and Vengeance, and I have to admit this movie is not bad, it's just the writing and directing just makes the character annoying. Like all he does is, you never did that with me as a kid. Why did you do that? That's stupid. And more. Yeah. The relationship between the two, Bruce Willis and stuff, is bad. And the third act, I will admit, it looks like they're trying, but it fails. Now, the villains. Where do I begin with the villains? We've gone from Alan Rickman, Severus Snape, playing Hans Gruber, one of the best villains of all time, you know, and then there was Jeremy Renner in Scar, in Die Hard with a Vengeance, and then the villain in Die Hard 2 was okay. Oh, and Live Free or Die Hard, I haven't really got to the part where they introduced Timothy Olyphant, so I can't really judge that. But what have we gone through from Alan Rickman to Jeremy Renner? No, Irons. We get stereotypical, boring, one-dimensional, mediocre, forgettable, every definition in the book villains. Come on, are you serious? We've gone from Hans Gruber, like I said, to one of the villains in this movie is a carrot-eating, dancing terrorist. I am not even kidding if I even tried. Is that supposed to be funny? Well, to me, no. No, not at all. It was stupid. And then there's two other villains, which I'm not going to spoil, even though it seems like it's trying to be a twist, in my opinion anyway, a twist, and it failed because there's scenes which just spoil stuff, and I'm not going to spoil it. And more, I can't really explain that well, and I don't care. The villains are forgettable. The plot is dull and uninteresting. There are a lot of plot holes. Even the tiniest thing in the movie is a plot hole. And even there are things in here that, even though they might have explained it, like, there's some parts didn't get, maybe because it was dull. You're gonna, you know what, you're just not gonna care anyway. Well, you're gonna, every time there's gonna be something in here which may be mentioned, but you're just gonna feel like a plot hole anyway. anyway because you just don't care at all. Yeah, these characters, there's no tension, no suspense, and I don't care about them at all. Okay, now I'm done with the writing, the acting, and the characters. The color palette just unappealing to look at. I mean, most of the time the color palette is saturated blue, and then there's lens flare and something which makes it look like a freaking Michael Bay movie. And that's just unappealing to look at. Would you seriously look at this and go, oh yeah, I know what this is. This is the Die Hard movie. I can tell already. No, it just looks unappealing to look at. Because it's ugly. And it just makes you don't want to go to Moscow. Which brings the cinematography not only on the action scenes, but overall. The cinematography is awful. One of the worst shot films of the entire year so far. Because most of the time it's close-ups and more like it was just like a 5-year-old kid who was drunk filmed on a freaking iPhone, and this is what it looks like. Seriously, that's really what it looks like. Heck, I can do something better with an iPhone, and that's just sad. So yeah, cinematography, editing, awful on both standards of action. The action is awful. The CGI is awful. I mean, most of the time, like I said, it's shaky cam. It's like moving front and back and stuff, and and it's mindless, and the CGI is stupid. It's over the top. Okay. There's even parts of the CGI where you just question why that's even CGI in the first place. It's lazy. What? Like I finished part, the dull part, and this is one of the second parts, lazy. Because I'm freaking tired of CGI in action. I mean, I think it's a good thing. I mean, even for like future films like Total Recall, where I don't think it deserves any like CGI and that it looked better in practical effects, maybe it's because I saw Blade Runner, it would still look good. However, for something like this, it just feels pointless. And I heard like there's a scene where like in Live Free or Die Hard where John McClane drives a police car and then the police car drives off and hits a helicopter, and it looked realistic. It's like it actually happened, that they actually spend money on, getting a car, putting wires or something and actually hitting it. But no, they had to do the lazy route and go with friggin' CGI. And I'm sick of friggin' CGI in this type of movie. There was no purpose in that. It looks like a video game. I know I had something to say here. I hate CGI when it's used with, like, rather they want to save money. Or, there's a different types of CGI where you can actually use it to save money. And then there are those, where it's like, we're too lazy to actually build stuff, so let's put CGI on the screen because no one will know the friggin' thing because they're idiots when... I hate you, Hollywood. So yeah, it's shaky and, let me explain. Let me talk about the freaking climax. The climax. I have no words. The freaking climax is off. Everything from continuity to plot to the camera work to the green screen effect to the CGI to the characters. It's just mind-boggling. that was the part where it's like, it's done. There's no way to change it. You fail, movie. This is bullcrap. And then that last part of the action scene, which they spoiled in the trailer, I was like, thinking, my jaw dropped, like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. And the part, in the theater I saw, the theater that I saw the movie at, by the way, during the movie there were parts where people were laughing, and I remember some, and they weren't even parts that were funny, Like one scene I remember, and I'm not going to spoil that scene, even though I said I was going to spoil stuff. But I'm going to spoil when I really need it. Okay? Now, you people might be thinking right now, well, the other, the first 3 Die Hard films have over-the-top action too. I don't want to hear that crap where people are saying, well, the first 3 Die Hard movies had over-the-top action. No. Well, the thing about those is that the characters were still realistic and that some of them got hurt. And that they were practical with, like actual stuff or models or something. Like in this film, John McClane, Bob. Bob. Back to Bob, there's a scene, where it's a driveway chase, where it's like nearly 15 minutes, where, John McClane is driving and the bad guys are chasing Jack and stuff, and the clip of the shot I'm talking about is online. There's a shot where John McClane gets his car gets blown up and he still survives, and not only that, he doesn't bleed, and then he goes to another car in which it runs over him, and then the guy comes out and he's speaking the most over-the-top Russian accent of all time, and then for some reason, John McClane punches the guy and says, "Do I understand a word you're saying?" Which is not funny also. And then he drives the car, and then he drives off a bridge, and then there so happen to be cars lined up, and then, some of the cars look like people are stolen. I mean, the editing is so bad I couldn't tell, but there were some shots where people are yelling, When did John McClane, Bob become stupid? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Let me explain to you something. If you people are commenting, well, Bob is old, so, that's the idea. No, in the original Die Hard films, he does plan on doing something stupid, but he actually thinks about it and doesn't do it. Like in the first film, there's a scene where, the boss of his wife, he's talking to Hans Gruber, and then Hans Gruber shoots him, and then John McClane watches in horror, which is powerful, and then he comes out and the other shots happen, and then he comes out and goes, "What?" And then he questions, why couldn't I save him? And then he says, because you would have been dead too. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but he actually thought about it, and that might have been true. And he's smart. But in here, however, Bob in here, he just sees something or thinks about something, and he just does it. Like, oh look, a bridge, I'm gonna drive over it, whee! And that, he doesn't think about it. He's not the John McClane I used to be. He's dumb now. Now, I need to talk about something. Maybe I like John McClane because of how realistic he is. Like I said before. And, you know what? If this is a studio's way of thinking, you know, I need to talk about something. There are many things happening with... I mean, imagine you, adult, when you were a kid, and you saw the first Die Hard film for the first time, and you were like, that's awesome! And then you love John McClane and stuff. And then, then years later, stuff changed. We have the internet, YouTube, and stuff. And then, Hollywood has changed. And then we come to a period where there's, like, remakes, sequels, spin-offs, and more. And they've come to a point, especially in action films, where it's like, they want to make them over the top, there's no character development, no story, and just have mindless action, like Michael Bay, like his Bad Boys Transformers films. And that's fine. However, this is Die Hard, where the characters were realistic back then. Imagine, like, you and the, because Hollywood thinks, in action films, there's explosions and stuff, oh, look, it's Die Hard, let's make him a superhero now or something, John McClane. But the thing is that there's a difference between difference that is good and difference that is bad. Like I said, imagine you an adult watching this, and it's like, you saw Die Hard for the first time. But then later, the guy who loved the Die Hard film grew up. He had the exact same problems like John McClane. Well, not really in ability. He had a wife. He had kids. Family members died. His friends died. And, it's sad and stuff that actually happens. And then he changed. In the adult days, he changed. The person changes. For the good, or for the better, he's becoming a better man, or maybe he's not better. Maybe he's worse than he was as a child. It's one of those things. And then you have John McClane now, and then a new person or something sees Die Hard, and then John McClane is different. He's old and stuff. But it's not for the better, and we miss the old John McClane. We don't want him to be different. Just like us. We don't want to be different. Although, we have to at some point. We have to, we have to survive in the world and stuff, so we'll have to make changes to ourselves. Like I said, for the better or for the worse. But John McClane now is not changed for the better. He's old and he acts like a superhero. And now I've seen Rambo, the fourth film. It's a terrible name. And in that movie, however, it's a fourth film in the series. It's a revival. Sylvester Stallone is back and he's old. And it's realistic. It's not over-the-top action, although the last hour's over-the-top. But it mostly focuses on the characters and not the action, especially on John Rambo. And then there's a scene where he flashes back to all the stuff that has happened to him and stuff. And then at the end of the film, he goes home. And then at the finale, it's over the top. See? That's how you should do it. Make him like Rambo. Even though you can still make it fun. Make him relatable. Even as an old person. Make him an old person. The idea is that he can, he wants to act like a young because he felt better back then. And then he gets hurt. And then he bleeds. Like he used to be. And that would have been better. I'm writing a much better movie right now. And I heard there might be a Die Hard 6, and I'm sort of skeptical. But what I want, Hollywood, what I want is the John McClane I used to like. Make him have real problems since he's old now. Make him bleed or something. Like, you know, make him have problems with his life. Make sure his, you know, bad things happen to his relatives. Have, like, someone has to relate to someone in his life, a family member. And then have a villain that could be sort of like him or something. I'm writing a much better movie right now. Make it like Rambo. I mean, you can still make it fun. Like I said, what I want is a realistic John McClane that all of us used to like instead of this superhero crap. This is crap on a wall. A stain to the freaking wall. You know, the thing, I have nothing to say. I keep repeating that. You know, The Hobbit came out recently. You know, and people were complaining that the beginning was slow. However, I didn't think the beginning was slow, although people were complaining that. Maybe I read the Hobbit book. I'm reading the Hobbit. And that's a great example on how you can build characters in a story, although it's 3 parts. People are saying, oh, it's so slow. No, it was exactly like the Fellowship of the Rings. Oh, and don't comment saying, no, it's not. Yes, it is. That's what I remember. You know, it's story, and then the last hour, action. You know, in a way, just like Rambo. You know, maybe it's because, you know, that's the thing. Hollywood has changed. It's not like, you know, back then there was films like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Ben-Hur. You know, longer films had to revolve more around characters. You know, we came up with original stories. However, Hollywood now is focusing more on, you know, in this case, more on action or something, and not really much on like characters or story or something. Most of the time it would. And I just want that with a 6th Die Hard film, if you're listening to me, Hollywood. I want a film where in the first half hour we get character development. Have like 1 or 2 action scenes there, but mostly revolve around John McClane struggling. Now, you people might be thinking, you know, I hate the coloring, you know, the cinematography, the editing, the acting, and stuff. Now, you people might be thinking, oh, you're just nitpicking. No. But, you know what? That's the problem, isn't it? The stuff that feels like it could be good, like the jokes, and Russia, Moscow could have actually been a good location, and Chernobyl, but they're not really used to their potential and they're just wasted. You know, but there could have been a good location. The things that feel like it could have been good are just slammed down by the crapness of its execution, and doesn't feel like a Die Hard movie. Because Bruce Willis doesn't feel like John McClane anymore. He just feels like old Bruce Willis playing old Bruce Willis, and not in a good way. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm doing really off on this review. I just hate this movie. Oh yeah, I know I want to talk about last, if I think it's last. My favorite movie line of all time is Yippee-ki-yay, mother. And in the first film, it actually made sense. Because in the movie, Alan Rickman calls him a cowboy. And even the second film, which no one seemed to talk about, you know, that much, but I really enjoy it. I think that's my favorite use of the line in the film, you know. It's during the climax where John McClane is fighting and stuff. He goes off the plane. he dumps in the snow and he barely gets up, and then gasoline falls out of the plane, and then he gets his match. The music's rising up and it's epic, and what did he say?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yes, that is awesome. Perfect tension, perfect suspense, and it has weight, and the weight is good just for that line. And then the other series, like 3 and stuff, you know, it was just becoming there, out random. They don't like build the suspense or something. They don't build tension to that line. And even in this film, there's a scene where John McClane's about to drive a car out of to move the plane around. I'm not kidding. And then he says, yippee. And yeah, it's R, you know, because the other film was rated PG-13. However, it's used awfully. Why couldn't it be like the other Die Hard movies? This one line, the best movie line of all time, and it's wasted in the stupidest way possible. I mean, it sounds stupid that the other film was PG-13, they might have cut out the F word, and yet they don't build suspense to this line. They just say it has no weight, and it's just used as random. You fail! You fail! How can you screw up a line like that? So, just to show you something quickly or something, let's see the budget of all the Die Hard movies. The first Die Hard movie cost $28 million. The box office was $140 billion, $767,956 at the box office. So yeah, my poor math there. And then the second film, the budget on that one was $70 million, and at the box office it made $240 million, 31,094 cents. Or at least I got that right with my horrible math. And then Die Hard with a Vengeance cost $90 million, and the box office was $366 million, $101.666. And then Live Here Die Hard cost $110 million, and the box office was $531,464. So, how much did A Good Day to Die Hard cost, and how much did it get the box office so far? Oh, yes. Wow. The budget for A Good Day to Die Hard cost $92 million, and the box office so far, 120, well, you know what, just screw it. I'm not going to tell the box office of that one. But, just to give you the point, the budget of A Good Day to Die Hard cost $92 million. You see what I mean? It's just made for a freaking cash cow. And that they're just probably gonna make it worse. They won't care about John McClane anymore. They don't care about what, you know, I hate money. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. But that's another topic. It's like Hollywood at this point doesn't care what we like about the Die Hard films. It's just about what this universe is now, where there's explosions and boobies and, and not about what we actually liked. So, screw you, Hollywood. Screw you. To the death. I hope I said everything I said in an awful way with horrible math and stuff. So yeah, everything is wrong. The music's okay though. That's not really saying much. I mean, it sounds DieHardish. And the setup is DieHardish. But the writing, the directing... Oh, the directing! I forgot that. Jeez Louise, I forgot that. The directing is awful. It just reminded me of something. From the cinematography, the CGI effects, it looked like a freaking video game, like I said before. It reminded me of Max Payne. I haven't seen that movie, but for what I've seen, this seems like a video game movie. It's like Max Payne 1.0. So if I wanted to play a Die Hard game, although from seeing this it wouldn't be good, I would play the Die Hard game. Oh, and not only that, the dialogue, the acted, that's, it's directed like a video game. And a really poor video game. That's how badly it's directed. It feels like Max Payne 1.0. Why couldn't you make this into a video game then? Even it would be horrible. Seriously. So, yeah, like I'm saying, I'm not angry at you, Hollywood, Hollywood, listen to me. John Moore can direct. Skip Moore can't write. So, people, don't see this movie because it's going to be successful at the box office because it's #1 so far. And, if you do that, Hollywood is going to give them more work and they'll probably ruin more famous franchises. So, yeah, John Moore can't direct. And you know what? I think Hollywood just, the 20th Century Fox just hired him because his name was John, and then Die Hard character's named John McClane. So, his first name's John, so it's like, he's the perfect director. No, John Moore can't direct, Skip Woods can't write, so stop hiring them to do stuff. Hollywood, you stink. 20th Century Fox, you should be ashamed. I love these movies. If you're gonna make a Die Hard 6, make it to what I've said in this video. I hope the other movies I said, like First Blood, The Hobbit, and more, were useful to describe Hollywood in this movie. It's one of the worst sequels I've seen. I don't know if I should give it 1 out of 0, just to be a tiny bit generous, but as a Die Hard perspective, I'm gonna give it 0 out of 5 stars. No. Screw it. This gets nothing. It doesn't get 0 out of 5 stars, it gets nothing. Nothing. You fail. Hollywood, you fail. Hope you're happy with what you did to Die Hard fans. For Die Hard fans, skip it. Although if you're a person who just, who hasn't seen Die Hard films and that just love explosion stuff, this might be for them. And, if you do see it, you might actually be laughing because of how atrocious the choices were. So yeah. I'm just gonna cry in the corner and probably burn my Die Hard ticket if I can. So, that was like my 45-minute review of A Good Day to Die Hard. Hope I didn't waste your time. Hope I got every nerd happy from what I said. What you guys think of the movie? Did you like it? Did you not? What's your favorite Die Hard movie? Comment below in the Die Hard comment box, like or dislike me. If you want to see more videos from me, click my button there. It's up on the video, my channel, to get alienized until you Die Hard. You know why this movie is called Good Day to Die Hard? so that it would be good that you would die hard after seeing how awful this movie is as an insult to Hollywood. You know, Hollywood is just laughing at us. I feel like there's a guy named Bob Hollywood who just operates everything. I'm serious. He's like the most powerful man in the universe, and he might have come up with everything. I am kidding. He's a character I've come up with films like this. And I just noticed something. Last year I talked about Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, and it came out like February 10th mostly. And it became my least favorite film of 2012. How come in this date so far, they release movies that have trailers that look promising and they're from a franchise, and they turn out to be crap? Yippee-ki-yay, mother. Yippee-ki-yay, guys. Sorry if that was horrible.